Emmanuel Hostin, the husband of The View host Sonny Hostin, has been accused of widespread insurance fraud, and Sonny basically admitted to it on camera. Let's talk about it.
Like my husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance, and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to.
The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. So that makes Sonny Hostin, who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them all.
Imagine a world where the moral compass of daytime television suddenly spins wildly out of control, where the very voices that frequently lecture the nation on ethics and justice find themselves caught in the blinding glare of a massive $450 million fraud scandal. This isn't a plotline from a high-stakes legal thriller. It's the reality that recently enveloped Sonny Hostin, one of the prominent voices on The View, as accusations of widespread insurance fraud against her husband. Emmanuel Hostin sent shockwaves through the media landscape, but the drama didn't stop there. As the news rippled across the airwaves, two sharp-witted commentators known for their no-holds-barred approach, Greg Gutfeld and Timpf, stepped into the fray, not with hushed tones of sympathy, but with a verbal flamethrower aimed squarely at the perceived hypocrisy. What unfolded was a masterclass in comedic takedown, a roast so scorching that it left audiences questioning the very foundations of daytime moralizing. Gutfeld and Timpf didn't just offer commentary, they delivered a scathing indictment of the self-righteousness they often perceive emanating from shows like The View, turning the legal woes of Hostin's husband into a field day of biting sarcasm and razor-sharp wit. The sheer scale of the alleged fraud, a staggering $450 million, became the elephant in the room that no one on The View seemed particularly eager to acknowledge with the same fervor they apply to other public figures' missteps. This silence, this carefully curated deflection, only amplified the opportunity for Gutfeld and Timpf to step in and dissect the situation with the precision of surgeons and the humor of seasoned stand-up comedians. Their commentary wasn't just about the legal case, it was a broader examination of media accountability, the standards we hold public figures to, and the delicious irony when those who frequently cast stones find their own glass houses under scrutiny. Prepare to delve into the unraveling of a scandal, the reactions of those in the spotlight, and the unbridled commentary that followed. A commentary so potent it left many wondering if the reign of daytime sanctimony had just met its most formidable adversaries. The story that follows isn't just about a legal battle, it's about the battle for narrative control, the exposure of perceived double standards, and the undeniable entertainment value of watching sharp minds dissect a scandal with unapologetic candor.
Ah, you look tantalizing. You know, I make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Because COVID also taught Sonny Hostin how to get her groceries delivered.
3 years, that's when I discovered Instacart, and I give them a big tip because they don't always pay their people well, and it's so that's been an issue, I think, for the company. But man, you can get toiletries, you can get fire logs.
Fire logs? She had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds insufferable.
Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin, an orthopedic surgeon and husband of The View co-host Sonny Hostin, is accused in December lawsuit fraudulently billing insurance. By the way, this is a Daily Caller story I'm reading. The lawsuit alleges Hostin knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services in exchange for kickbacks and or compensation, and names him among nearly 200 defendants in one of New York's largest RICO cases. Wow.
The initial whispers of Emmanuel Hostin's legal troubles quickly escalated into a full-blown headline storm as details of the massive insurance fraud allegations began to surface. The lawsuit, a sprawling RICO case, named him among nearly 200 defendants, painting a picture of a widespread scheme involving fraudulent medical billing and kickbacks. For a show like The View, which often positions itself as a moral compass for its audience, this was a bombshell dropped squarely in their lap. Yet, the initial reaction on the program was conspicuously subdued, a stark contrast to the often fierce debates and pronouncements that typically characterize their discussions of legal and ethical matters involving figures on the right. This apparent reticence did not go unnoticed by those outside the show's echo chamber, particularly Greg Gutfeld and Timpf, whose comedic and often contrarian perspectives have garnered them a significant following, known for their willingness to tackle sensitive topics with a blend of humor and pointed criticism on Fox News' Gutfeld. They saw in this situation a prime opportunity to examine what they perceived as a glaring double standard. The silence, or rather the carefully worded and somewhat deflective comments made on The View, seemed to Gutfeld and Timpf like an admission in itself, a tacit acknowledgement of the gravity of the situation and the inherent difficulty in applying their usual moralizing lens to someone within their own orbit. The contrast between the show's typical approach to scandals involving conservatives and their handling of this situation involving the husband of one of their own co-hosts became the central theme of Gutfeld and Timpf's subsequent commentary, setting the stage for a barrage of sharp observations and comedic jabs.
And I just want to hit myself in the face so I can feel something. You know, it's like so boring. She's like, yeah, I like Instacart, but don't worry, I tip the poors. But, you know, Joy, you actually don't like Instacart and you do like the store. And then Joy is like, yeah, I do. I like to go to the store. I like to walk around and see what's at the store, what I do want, what I don't want. Maybe I want tuna fish, and I just want to hit myself in the...
It's about the view. It's become like a medical hospital that displays human misfailure. Like, it's like here, let's look at this political oddity. You know, it's like, it really is like the left-wing equivalent of a carnival sideshow, except instead of bearded ladies and fat clowns and two-headed cows. Well, let me rephrase that. But The View is a victim of the sunk cost fallacy. You know, how can you now speak the truth when for years you've been telling lies after lie after lie? Now you're carrying this big bag of rocks around you because it's too harmful for their ego to admit that we really were dishonest. And they could be honest. All they would have to say is, look, we hate Trump so much. We were willing to lie about Joe Biden because we felt he was preferable. We thought our lying and our cover-up was on your behalf. Just say that. You're still scum, but at least you're an honest scum.
Enter Greg Gutfeld and Kat Timpf, a duo whose on-air chemistry and shared penchant for skewering hypocrisy have made them must-see commentators for a significant segment of the viewing public. They approach the Sunny Hostin scandal not with sympathy or concern, but with the keen eyes of satirists who had just been handed a golden opportunity. Gutfeld, known for his sardonic wit and ability to find humor in even the most serious of situations, and Timpf, whose deadpan delivery often amplifies the comedic impact of her sharp observations, were perfectly positioned to dissect the unfolding drama. Their commentary wasn't just about reporting the news, it was a performance. A roast of the highest order aimed not just at Emmanuel Hostin's alleged actions, but at the broader media ecosystem, and in particular, the perceived self-righteousness of The View. Gutfeld, with his characteristic theatrical flair, practically relished the opportunity to dissect the situation, treating it like a Thanksgiving turkey ripe for carving with the sharp knife of his wit. Timpf, on the other hand, brought her signature. Dry humor to the table, reacting to the headlines with the knowing smirk of someone who had long anticipated such a moment of perceived comeuppance. Their combined approach created a potent blend of sarcasm and insightful critique, turning what could have been a dry legal discussion into a highly entertaining and thought-provoking commentary on media bias and accountability. They didn't shy away from the severity of the allegations, but rather used the stark contrast between the alleged crime and the usual moralizing tone of The View as fodder for their comedic and critical analysis.
The witch's coven finally shows me some lovin'. Yesterday on The View, yours truly was the subject of conversation. Apparently the broads have no idea who I am, or so they say. Hit it, Gladys.
They said that Gutfeld talks about you all the time.
Who is he? Really, who is he?
I don't watch the show.
He has a show.
I don't watch the
never
show.
heard of him.
Yeah.
I guess he's just obsessed with me.
No. Next, Joy's gonna say she's never heard of carbs. Seriously, her denial of knowing me is as believable as her red hair. But obsession? I mean, come on, Joy. Where would you even get that idea? Like Joy Behar's face, it's looking worse and worse by the day. More full of crap than Joy Behar after a night of scotch and Taco Bell. Her being named Joy is like me being named Ugly. Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. It now smells like a humid day inside Joy Behar's moo-moo.
One of the central pillars of Gutfeld and Timpf's takedown was the highlighting of what they saw as blatant hypocrisy. They juxtaposed Sunny Hostin's frequent pronouncements on ethics and corruption with the unfolding legal drama surrounding her husband, drawing a stark and unflattering comparison. Gutfeld in particular didn't miss the opportunity to remind viewers of Hostin's past commentary, suggesting that her usual sanctimonious tone now rang hollow in light of these revelations. He quipped that Hostin, who often seemed to occupy the moral high ground, was now facing a legal hurricane, and he and Timpf were dancing in the storm of irony. The concept of hypocrisy became a recurring motif in their commentary, with Gutfeld suggesting that if hypocrisy were a luxury brand, The View would have franchised it long ago, with Sunny Hostin as its top salesperson. Timpf, ever the master of the understated jab, likened The View to a medical hospital that displays human misfailure, a left-wing equivalent of a carnival sideshow featuring political oddities. This framing not only poked fun at the show's often sensationalized coverage of political issues, but also highlighted the perceived irony of their current predicament. The duo didn't just point out the alleged hypocrisy, they reveled in it, using it as a lens through which to critique the entire premise and tone of The View. Their commentary suggested that the show's carefully constructed image of moral superiority was now crumbling under the weight of this very personal scandal, and Gutfeld and Timpf were more than happy to document its demise with a healthy dose of schadenfreude.
All right, Kat, did you ever see such a group? It's amazing how Joy and Whoopi became the smart ones.
For me, the most shocking thing about the conversation was how truly boring it was. They're like, well, the cicadas, they're cicadas. Okay, but it was like every 100 years. No, it's every 17 years. Do you know how many Emmys this show has? 31.
31 Emmys?
This show has 31. I mean, I'd hate to see the conversations that don't make headlines.
Sausage maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City.
The commentary from Gutfeld and Timpf was punctuated by a series of memorable punchlines and sarcastic remarks that underscored their critique. Gutfeld joked that Hostin's husband's $450 million fraud case was the gift that keeps on giving, providing endless fodder for their comedic analysis. He quipped about the richness of the alleged offshore accounts being mirrored by the richness of their punchlines. One particularly cutting remark involved Gutfeld feigning shock that Hostin, who once suggested climate change caused a solar eclipse, had a law degree, calling it a true sign of the apocalypse. This served not only to mock Hostin's intelligence, in his view, but also to further highlight what he saw as a pattern of questionable pronouncements. Timpf, with her signature deadpan delivery, added to the comedic onslaught by suggesting that the scandal was the first accidentally entertaining storyline on The View. She also sarcastically proposed renaming the show The Skew for its ability to twist any uncomfortable topic into a round table of eye rolls and softball questions. The level of sarcasm was so high that Gutfeld even suggested Sunny Hostin should launch a new segment called Allegedly Yours, where she could offer moral takes while simultaneously dodging subpoenas. These sarcastic jabs and humorous observations weren't just for entertainment, they served to amplify the central theme of hypocrisy and to make the critique more palatable and engaging for their audience. By using humor, Gutfeld and Timpf were able to deliver a sharp and memorable indictment of The View and its handling of the scandal.
No, I'm also not surprised that there's one part of the video from the show yesterday that you left out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, can we roll that, please?
I don't watch the show that much, but I've seen it.
Who is that? Who is that?
Greg Gutfeld's one of the hosts of The Five, who, if I don't have anything nice to say, I generally don't say anything at all. I would just say this, his show should be called Kat Timpf, not Gutfeld, because she's the funny one on it.
Somebody's flirting with little Kat over here.
Well, she's the Republican one at the table, but I just think as a libertarian, I'm always looking to find common ground with other people because nobody really shares my politics. So I find some common ground in The View where she thinks I'm funny and I agree.
There you go. people have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist. You see?
Beyond the direct commentary on Sunny Hostin and The View, Gutfeld and Timpf also subtly touched on the broader media landscape. They highlighted the relative lack of intense scrutiny and outrage directed at this scandal compared to similar situations involving conservative public figures. Gutfeld, in particular, drew a pointed comparison, suggesting that if anyone on the right were even tangentially connected to a fraud case of this magnitude, they would be cancelled faster than Joy Behar forgets she's supposed to let people finish a sentence. This remark not only took a jab at another View co-host, but also underscored the perceived double standard in media coverage. Timpf echoed this sentiment by noting the stark contrast in how The View typically covers conservative scandals, with dramatic flair versus their seemingly muted approach to a significant legal issue involving one of their own. This implicit critique of media bias and selective outrage added another layer to their commentary, suggesting that the scandal wasn't just about one individual or one show, but indicative of a larger pattern in how different parts of the media address controversies depending on the political affiliations involved. By drawing these comparisons, Gutfeld and Timpf subtly challenged their own audience and the broader public to consider whether the same standards of accountability are applied across the political spectrum.
Amazing. Oh. That's not what I read. The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. Worse, if your name has the word sun in it, there's no excuse for not knowing how an eclipse works. But it's no surprise that Joy is the one who understands science. She's been on the science diet for years. They're turning on me. So that makes Sunny Hostin, who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them all. Because everyone knows the moon caused the eclipse, which is controlled by the View's gravitational pull.
At its core, Gutfeld and Timpf's commentary delved into the fundamental themes of media accountability and the erosion of trust. When public figures who frequently opine on ethical matters find themselves embroiled in significant scandals, it raises questions about the authenticity of their pronouncements and the standards they truly adhere to. The perceived silence and deflection from The View in the face of these serious allegations against Hostin's husband risked further damaging the credibility of the show in the eyes of many viewers. Gutfeld and Timpf's willingness to directly address the issue, albeit with a comedic and critical lens, filled a void and resonated with those who felt that the situation was not being given the attention and scrutiny it deserved by other mainstream media outlets. Their commentary served as a reminder that public figures, regardless of their political affiliations or the platforms they occupy, should be held accountable for their actions and the actions of those closely associated with them. The scandal and the subsequent reactions also highlighted the complex relationship between media personalities and their public personas, and the potential for that carefully constructed image to be shattered when real-life controversies emerge. Ultimately, Gutfeld and Timpf's sharp and often humorous dissection of the situation underscored the importance of consistent ethical standards and the public's expectation that those who hold themselves up as moral authorities should also be subject to rigorous scrutiny when controversies arise.
Kat, how many co-hosts has The View had since it first started? I've lost count. I don't know any of these people.
No, that's because they don't stick around long enough. There's been 17 since 1997. That's a lot. That's because they're women.
Oh, really?
Their hormones, they're changing their minds. I don't want to work here. Yes, I do. That's why. Women are always changing jobs every day.
Wow,
I just quit.
Direct the mail to Catherine Timpf. Not me. I disavow everything she said.
In conclusion, the unfolding legal drama surrounding Sunny Hostin's husband and the subsequent commentary by Greg Gutfeld and Kat Timpf served as a stark reminder of the complexities of media, ethics, and accountability. Gutfeld and Timpf's unreserved and often hilarious takedown not only provided entertainment, but also sparked a broader conversation about perceived double standards and the role of commentators in holding public figures accountable. The sheer scale of the alleged fraud, juxtaposed with the muted response from The View and the sharp critique from Gutfeld and Timpf, created a moment of significant irony that resonated with many viewers. It highlighted the potential for hypocrisy within media circles and the public's appetite for commentators who are willing to call it out, even when it involves prominent figures on popular television programs. The lasting impact of this story may not only lie in the legal proceedings themselves, but also in the way it exposed and amplified existing criticisms of daytime talk shows and the broader media landscapes. As Gutfeld and Timpf themselves hinted, this may not be the final chapter, and the ongoing saga could continue to provide fodder for further commentary on the ever-evolving relationship between public figures, their audiences, and the media that covers them.